Okay, this video we're going to talk about NPV, net present value. We're going to talk about internal rate of return, and we're talking about payback period. All methods we use to look at investments, engage, and make decisions about what our capital investments might be, which ones are better than others. So just kind of a brief overview. A net present value is the present value of the cash flows, the future cash flows discounted back to present. And then the word net is in there because you also subtract out the initial investment. A positive NPV means that you have returned more than the hurdle rate. A negative value would mean you return less than the hurdle rate. If you get a value of exactly zero, which is pretty rare, but it could happen. If you get a value of exactly zero, that would mean you're returning exactly your discount rate or your hurdle rate. But notice that NPV does not give you the actual rate that you're returning. It simply says more or less than your given discount rate that you've put in there. Internal rate of return, on the other hand, actually tells you what the project returns. Okay, so what the rate, you can call it interest, but it's really an investment return. But how much is it returning to you based on your initial investment and based on the future cash flows? Both of those are discounted models. Both of those use present values. Payback period does not. Payback period is simply saying, okay, how long does it take for me to get my money back? So if I spend $100,000 on something, how many years until I receive $100,000 worth of cash inflows for that one large initial cash outflow? So I've set the spreadsheet up again, hopefully to make it easier on you to do this, and most of it should automatically calculate. The toughest one, believe it or not, even though it's the simplest mathematically, was the payback period, so we'll see if that one works correctly. So that one you might want to look at a little closer, and I'll make sure that I explain it in detail so that if the formula I have doesn't work, you can know how to figure it out. So this is a problem from, again, the exam, I believe, number 27. So it says a Greek software company is considering whether to engage in either a small scale or large scale investment in order to develop a new technology. It has made the following estimates of the immediate cash outflow and of the resultant cash inflows over the next 3 years of potential investments. And then what the question actually asks is, it gives us a discount rate or reinvestment rate, which is 5%, and it wants us to calculate the payback period for both, the net present value for both, and the internal rate of return for both. So quite simply, all this requires, and I put 20 years in here just because I don't know how many years are going to be on the worksheets and problems that you have. This one obviously only requires 3 years, so it's pretty short. But the hurdle rate, I'm going to put the 5%, the reinvestment rate. The investment, we'll do the small scale one first. So this is the cash outflow of $50,000. And then I will come over here and say for year one, I have my cash inflow of $32,000. End of year two, my cash inflow of $24,000. And end of year three, $10,536. Okay, it doesn't need to be there. Okay, so what this returned to me is a net present value, that's a function written in here for you, a net present value of $11,346.29. All that tells me is that I'm returning that much money more than the 5% discount rate. It does not tell me what my rate is, it just tells me that I'm returning that much more than what, if it were 5% exactly, the net present value would be zero. If it were less than 5%, it would be negative. And since it's positive, I'm returning more than. So net present value for small scale, 11,346.29. The internal rate of return is 19.136%. So as you can see, that number is substantially higher than 5%. But we couldn't tell how much higher just based on this 11,000, which is why you want to use more than one of these if you're ever actually looking at a project. You want to look at all three. Perhaps even more, there's more methods too, just to make sure that you're picking the right project based on all the information, all the given data. So the small scale, so the internal rate of return is 19.136%. In payback period, this pays back in year two. And like I said, I wrote a function here, and it should here, I don't know this negative, it's not affecting it obviously because of the way I wrote my other function, but the negative shouldn't be there. The payback period, so the way this is figured, like I said, in case this is the one formula I'm worried about in this. In case this doesn't work, effectively I'm saying, when do I get my 50 grand back? Okay, well, 32,000, I've not reached my $50,000 yet. 56, well, I'm over 56, but it didn't take me all year to get it because I went beyond the $50,000. So what this calculation does is it takes how much I earned in year 2 and divides it by how much more I need to earn to get the payback amount, and therefore gives me the portion of the year that's required for it to be paid back. Now, why does this matter? Well, payback period is an important measure because the longer the term that it takes for you to get your money back, generally speaking, the higher the risk, simply because we understand usually more about what's going on right now and what's happening tomorrow and what's happening next year than what we do what's happening 3 years, 4 years, 5 years from now. So the quicker the payback period, generally speaking, the less risk. So payback period for the small scale is 1.75 years. All right, so now large scale. The hurdle rate didn't change. We have the same hurdle rate. We do have a different initial investment as well as a different amount of cash flows. So year 1, we have 65,000, just taking this straight from over here. Year 2, we have 35,000, and year 3, we have 36,166. Okay. So my NPV is 14,892.34. So notice that is a little higher than the other one. My payback period is longer, 2.28 years here. My internal rate of return is 12.998%. Now, as far as deciding between these, you could reason your way through doing any of them. Obviously, the most bang for your buck, you're talking about the internal rate of return, so that would be 19%, so that would be the better one to invest in. And also, it takes less time to pay back, so you've got less risk. It does have a lower net present value, but it has a higher return based on the investment. Reason being, obviously, while you're receiving less cash, you're also spending a lot less cash. $50,000 compared to 110. It's not dollars, it's euros. But 50,000 euros is compared to 110,000 euros. So, you know, just from looking at these numbers, I would want to invest in the small scale rather than the large scale based on those factors alone. Oh, I'm going to put on this page, I'll put this video. You'll probably clicked on it already for this one. But these 2 videos, they won't make as much sense probably because they're from my book and I'm using examples from the book that you don't have. But if you're wanting a little bit of additional explanation of NPV and IRR, these are just some other videos that I actually used in my course. But we don't really have, I don't have the examples because I went through the book for my students and they have the book and you don't. So those are optional videos for you to watch if you're wanting to see more.